Hi, I'm Morgan, and I'm with Comic Town, and I'm going to be opening a box of Magic Origins today. Alright. And for our first pack, we got an Archangel of Tides. And the Archangel of Tides, I think, is going to be really good for mono white devotion. And I've already seen some people trying to put her in some control decks. So I think that it actually will be a pretty good card for that. And our rare for that pack was Thopter Spy Network. I think a whole lot of fun artifact decks are going to come out of this block here, with Ensoul Artifact being from the last one, and a lot of really good, just solid artifacts. You have Darksteel Citadel will go good with that. And I think if I were to build an artifact, I'd build it red-blue. And also a draft pick for this pack, I would probably pick Knight of the Pilgrim's Road. He's just a really good 3-drop that gets even stronger. We got a Displacement Wave. Displacement Wave is going to see play. I definitely see it in the sideboards of any deck running blue. It will return a flipped Planeswalker to the owner's hand for just 2 blue, and also all of the tokens. But beyond that, you can go higher if you need to. I think it's a really great card for control. Relicseeker, he's going to be pretty good in EDH, I think. He'll definitely see play there. And people are already trying to build with him in Modern. Cave of Koolios was our next rare. I think it's pretty cool that these cards got reprinted. It'll definitely help ease up mana bases and just keep them working pretty good. Ooh, we got a foil Evolutionary League. That card is going to be really good in Standard, I believe. It'll especially be good in green-white. You'll be able to sacrifice your mana dorks. Just tap your Elvish Mystic for 1 green and then sacrifice it. It'll also be good just getting rid of extra morph cards that are like lands off the top or something like that. And our rare from the pack was Scav Clan Rampager, or Berserker, sorry. And it's a pretty good haster. It might see play in some red decks, and it also has the upside of dealing damage whenever a player, whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell. Our next rare is Alhameret. He's a legendary creature, which is pretty cool. I can see him getting played in like some type of EDH. You can even name their commander as the card they can't cast if you find a way to get rid of him. He's pretty cool. Our next card is Vryn Wingmate, and I think this is a really cool new card that came out of Origins. It's one of my favorites. I think it'll be pretty good in mono white devotion or just white creature based decks. And you can compare this card to a card like Thalia. And the best part about this is it's not legendary. So you can play multiples and just keep driving up the cost of their removal. Cool, we got a flip Planeswalker. Yeah. His abilities are pretty cool on the creature side. To trigger him, you need to attack with 3 creatures, including him, and at the end of combat, he flips. He can also protect himself from their removal. And here is his flip side. I can see him being really good in Black-White Warriors, maybe, or Mono-White Devotion, possibly. And I think that he'll be a just aggressively costed 1-drop, just a really good card for a while to come. All right. Our next rare is Molten Vortex. I think that this gives some good backup to Seismic Assault decks in Modern, and you know, just loam decks in general. I think this will be really good in mono red or red deck wins as a last out option to close off games. Languish is one of my favorite cards from the set. It's definitely going to be great in control, and also some probably mid-range black decks will play this. It gets rid of Deathmist Raptor, Den Protector, some of the dragons even. It's pretty good. We got Alhamuret's Archive. This card I definitely think is going to see play in EDH, especially in the Aurora decks that seek to gain life and draw cards. This card will definitely be a target to remove in your EDH games. And we got Akithian's Irregulars. I think that this card is, if you can use it correctly in Limited, it's good. I'd be careful about trying to use it in multicolored decks, but it turns into a 5/4 when it hits them, and it gives you an ability that lets you hit them easily. Now, in Standard, I think that with Nykthos and Mono White Devotion, it could be pretty decent. Animus Awakening. Animus Awakening is a pretty cool card, especially if you have Spell Mastery. I could see this card being played in Scapeshift and Modern possibly, and since they have a lot of control cards and cards in their graveyard, and I think it's just a really cool way to just jump up to that amount of mana you need to go off in the combo, and also I definitely think it has EDH implications. Honored Hierarch, Noble Hierarch's baby brother. As the only 1-drop mana creature we're going to get after the last set rotates out, I think that he'll be pretty useful. He also turns into a 2/2 Vigilance for 1, which is pretty cool. I think that we'll definitely see some use out of him. Gideons Phalanx. This card in Limited is an utter blowout. They're going to attack into you, and you can just block all of the threats, multi-block, and if you have Spell Mastery, you won't lose any creatures, which is pretty cool. I definitely don't hope that my opponents open any of these. Okay. Exquisite Firecraft. With Hero's Downfall rotating out, I think that this is going to be one of the primary Planeswalker removers, especially for decks that play red. The Spellcraft just makes it even better. And we got a Llanowar Wastes. I think that Black-Green has a pretty decent foot in this Standard, with Constellation decks probably coming back, and definitely Abzan. So it's just great to have this card still. Chandra's Resignation. I'm actually really excited about this card. First off, it can flip Chandra. Second off, you have a big creature, and you can just wipe the field and deal damage to everybody. I've already seen this card do some great stuff in EDH, particularly in my friend's Karthus Tyrant of Jund Dragon deck. Deal 7 to everybody. Pretty cool. Alright. Another great artifact card. Cards like these I think are great to play late game, and if you can sacrifice it with something like Galvanic Blast, it just makes for a really great board state after that. The Great Aurora. I think that this card, excuse me, the Great Aurora. I think that this card is going to be pretty cool in EDH as well, offering mono green a kind of reset for the game. This is interesting because it's a very blue-like effect. So it'll be interesting to see mono green decks with this card in their toolbox. Flame Shadow Conjuring. I think this card's pretty cool. It lets you get a lot of really cool enter the battlefield effects. I think this card could be good with cards like Fanatic of Mokus to deal just a bunch of extra damage, or even cards that create tokens when they enter. So I think that could be pretty cool. Pia and Cure LR. If you've read the lore, you know that their story doesn't end too well, and it's pretty sad. But I think that this card has a decent future in Standard, especially if you're creating the artifact deck we were talking about. It's a great way just to get use out of extra artifacts that would be killed by blocking or attacking into bigger creatures. I think this card's pretty cool. We get a Shivan Reef. Like our artifact deck we were talking about, I think that red-blue would be the colors for it, so I'm happy to still have this card. Graveblade Marauder. This card is a really cool card with an interesting effect. I think that it's particularly useful maybe in whip decks after you clear the field with Languish. That could be pretty cool. He will draw removal when you play him. So he will just get the removal out of the way for bigger creatures, maybe like Sea Trino or other important creatures. Pyxis, Prison Warden. This guy's pretty neat. In Limited, he's just a total bomb, exiling their biggest things. The only problem is they have to actually hit you. But I can also see this guy being pretty good in EDH, and just generally solid card. Come on. We have a Helm of the Gods. This card might be compared to Ethereal Armor in its ability. This card has an upside and a downside. The upside is that if your creature with Ethereal Armor on it dies, the Ethereal Armor will go to the graveyard, but this will stick around. The downside is this is not an enchantment, so it won't add to it itself. But other than that, with all the enchantments running around in Standard, I think this is a pretty cool card. Infinite Obliteration. This card is going to be pretty good, especially as a sideboard card. Game 2, if you know what your opponent's playing, you can just bring that in and get rid of a card you're having big trouble with. Let's say you're playing against Esper Dragons, you can just get rid of their Ojutai. Or, if you're playing as Esper Dragons, then I think this will have an even bigger, value to it. This guy is also a legendary. He is one of the intro pack rares, and he is going to be pretty good in EDH. You're just going to be drawing lots of cards, and obviously you're going to lose life, but that's okay because mono black decks have a great way to just gain that life back with stuff like Whip of Erebos, and this also works with board wipes like Damnation and Languish. Sigil of the Empty Throne. This card is going to set the enchantment archetype to be pretty decent, I think, especially like white-green. This card was last printed in the 2012 Plane Chase, making it a pretty good candidate for a reprint. And this card, among a few others in the set, are also pretty good in the Ghostly Prison deck in Modern. Cool. We got a Nyssa. Nyssa is going to be awesome, especially with the fetch land interaction, where you play the fetch land and she attempts to flip. If your opponent tries to kill her in that instance, you can crack the fetch land and then get the new land in, and then she'll flip again. So she avoids removal on that turn. So if you save her until that turn, she's pretty good. I'll show you her flip side here. Her flip side is pretty good. She's definitely going to see play in decks like Collected Company or Abzan, or usually decks that like try to take the long game into account. So I'm just really excited, and I think she's the coolest Nyssa yet. Another cool card we got in the pack is this one. This card is really great in Limited, just giving you that extra body. But I can definitely see it being played in Modern, in the Modern Collected Company Elves deck, because it alone and Heritage Druid can tap for 3 mana alone. So that's pretty awesome. Beige Ring Responder is the next card we opened. This card is pretty good in Limited. I got to play with it at the pre-release myself, and it's just gonna, get rid of whatever problematic creature they have. 7 damage isn't something to laugh at. All right. Our foil of the pack was Abbott of Carol's Keep. If you have ways to give him like double strike or something, he could hit pretty hard and get you some pretty cool card advantage. He has the standard red draw ability where he exiles the top card off your library. That can be pretty good if you're just stuck on draws and need to close out the game quickly. Coolest thing we got in the pack was a Day's Undoing. A lot of people are really working with this card right now, and it's going to do some amazing things. You can compare it to Time Twister, one of the Power 9. The only drawback from this card is you have to end the turn, but people are already working ways around that. People are trying to give it flash and use it on the opponent's turn, or play it with a lot of instants like red. So red might splash this, who knows? A lot of cool things to come from that card. Gilt Leaf Winnower is the next card. This card, with all the elves being printed right now, we might see a green-black standard elf deck. This card misses Collected Company, unfortunately, but I think that if you play this just a few of, that you'll definitely see value with it. Also, Menace means that you can really get through with it, and they have to make some hard blocking choices. We got another Evolutionary Leap, which is pretty cool because I need them. And we have a pretty cool draft pack. This guy is going to be pretty good in our artifact deck that we've been talking about, especially making all of those 1/1 flying Thopters, 2/2s. That can be pretty good if you manage to get multiples of him. So I'm really excited about this guy. Our last rare is the Soulblaze Jhin. In Limited, I've seen him do some pretty crazy things. Just giving your creatures an Anthem effect. If you can get multiples off each turn, then that's just awesome. But by himself, he's a 4/3 flyer for 5, which isn't bad. But then the ability to just boost all your creatures is awesome. And out of our box, we got some pretty cool Limited choices. In red, we have Goblin Glory Chaser. He is just a really good 1-drop because he can turn into a 2/2, and he gets the ability to where they have to block him with 2 or more creatures. And beyond Limited, I think that he'll be played in Standard with alongside Goblin Rabblemaster and Goblin Pile Driver. Other really good just Limited stuff from our packs we got are these 2 cards. Active Reason has just always been a mainstay for stealing their creatures and doing just really bad things with them. And Farri Impulse, if you have Spell Mastery, can just turn into a lightning bolt. In blue, we have some pretty cool removal options, or just ways to get through. I could see Turn to Frog on one of their, just really crucial creatures, just letting you block in and destroy it, or just some really cool ways with that. Claustrophobia is always good, as it has been, and can tap down one of their crucial creatures. And I've seen it end a lot of games. For our artifact deck, we also got some pretty cool stuff. This one here will let you use all of those Thopters that have been useless just because they've played bigger flyers to put them to some use. And this guy will supply the Thopters to let you do that. Well guys, thanks for watching. We opened up a pretty good box today. I'm Morgan, and just remember, all of this has been brought to you by Mountain Dew Kickstart.